Welcome to rSlash where a clever student gets his nasty teacher fired. So this happened during senior year in high school 4 years ago. I had an English teacher named Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith, or how she liked to refer to herself, Dr. Smith, she didn't have a doctorate, was a mean old bat that hated anything and everything. She was ugly inside and out. To give a mental image of what she looked like, her face sagged so much it looked like she had a perpetual stroke. She had about 2 feet in between her eyebrows and her eyes. Imagine Ursula and Cruella de Vil had a child, and then that child had a baby with the devil. You get Mrs. Smith. None of the other English teachers liked her. There was nothing that they, nor the administration, could do due to her tenure. That is, until I became her student. Her teaching style included, but was not limited to, yelling at students, putting them down with petty insults, having us read to ourselves in the middle of class, kicking out students that were dozing off, then later fell asleep at her desk, not letting female students go to the restroom for very obvious reasons, and the occasional losing students' work, then accuse the students of not turning their work in. This last part is what crossed the line for me. You see, I wasn't a grade A student, and I sucked at English, so I always played my cards right and made friends with everyone, students and teachers included. So when I struggled and couldn't do something on my own, I let my charm save me and cash out on my months of being nice to everyone. However, no one could be friends with Mrs. Smith. I tried being polite. I was met with rudeness. I tried asking her how her morning was. I was met with silence and dead stares. I tried asking how I could improve my writing skills. She told me that she wasn't willing to help. Within the first week of class, I knew I'd met my match. So halfway through the semester, we're working on a big research paper. However, the day after the due date, Mrs. Smith had to go up to Illinois for some family issues for 2 weeks. Mind you, we turned in our papers both in hand and on turnitin.com for plagiarism checking. No biggie. We won't get our grades back for a while, but at least we won't have to deal with her BS. Or so we thought. A few days after she gets back, only about half of the students got their papers back. The other half, including myself, were sitting there staring and waiting, thinking that she was going to go back to her desk and pull out the remaining papers to return to her students. But nope. She told us to take out our textbooks and start reading Beowulf. Some students, including myself that didn't receive their papers, tried to interject and inquire about our papers. And she snapped back with, "You should have turned them in when they were due." In unison, we responded, "We did." Of course, she denies it, and within a few days, our grades drop immensely. At the end of the grading period, the second 6 weeks, our report cards show a big fat F for English. Everyone is livid. And the worst part is if you get anything below a C, you are to be moved to a lower level English at the end of the semester. Between the 0 from the paper that carried almost half of our grade and only a few weeks remaining in the semester, almost half of the class was doomed to fail out. Now, most of the students were happy with having to leave her class. There was not much they could do, but I was careful. Remember the teaching methods I mentioned above? Well, Mrs. Smith thought that because we were in a classroom that had no cameras, her behavior wasn't being recorded. She was dead wrong. From the second week on, I started recording audio on my phone every day from the moment I walked into the class to the moment I left. Every day. I caught every single one of her personal attacks of students on tape. When she fell asleep, I pulled out my phone and recorded her. My pleas for help to improve and her refusal to help weren't left out either. Every day, I would go home and cut the audio to keep the good parts. And every day, my collection of dirt on her grew. And remember how I said we used Turnitin as well as paper? I had coordinated with all the other students who were going to fail to screenshot all of their Turnitin receipts and send them to me as proof that they turned in their work. When she decided to fail me for her mistake, she unleashed heck on herself. I went straight to the administration and scheduled a parent-teacher admin conference. A week later, my parents, the principal, The school counselor, the head of the English department, and Mrs. Smith were all present. I started with how she had lost half of the class's work and most of us failed because of it. She denied it and, again, accused us of turning our work in late as well as cheating and a bunch of other BS and lies. I remained calm and just pulled out a folder that contained all of the screenshots from my backpack and handed it to the principal, who then passed it to the head of the English department, who then asked Mrs. Smith to explain it. She instantly turned red in the face and started stuttering. Before she could get any words out, I say, "That's not all. Listen to this." I pull out my phone and start playing back the highlights from the semester. All the while, I'm staring dead into Mrs. Smith's eyes while trying to hold back a poo-eating grin. The suspense in the room would have killed Jason Statham. After the audio finished, the principal looked at me and said, "I think we've seen enough," and asked me to leave. I sat outside of the conference room, savoring the muffled yelling through the walls. I'm pretty sure I heard my dad utter the words "filthy grunt," but I don't want to point fingers. The parent-teacher conference was on a Friday. I walked into class the following Monday to see an empty desk and a substitute teacher we all recognized and loved. 10 out of 10 would document everything again. This reminds me of an earlier Prorevenge story I covered on my channel where a teacher was singling out a student and the student recorded all the nasty insults she gave. I don't know why older teachers think they can get away with abusing Generation Z people nowadays. Since everyone's got a smartphone, the odds of you being recorded are pretty high. And we have another contribution from the freaky child down in the comments. I had something similar happen to me in English class when I was in high school. The abridged version is that I was a committed underachiever and knew how the grading system worked. So I did exactly enough to maintain a passing grade, foregoing homework whenever possible. There was this midterm paper that we needed to write and I figured out that I needed at least a B on it. I set to writing the best paper I could, hoping to get an A and make my other work a little less important. I turned in the paper, grading came back as an A-, and I forgot about it. At the end of the term, reporting came that I had a failing 55 to 60-ish point final grade. I knew that wasn't right. A parent-teacher conference happened and the teacher said I had never turned in the paper. I produced the graded paper from my bag, with her handwriting indicating the A- grade. It's important to say that when administration asked for justification on my final grade, she pulled out this ancient grade book. As she flipped pages, multitudes of loose post-it notes were flying around, each with other students' names and grades on them. So she was obviously not using the actual pages of the grade book to record grades. It's no wonder she misplaced my grade. Their principal flat out told her to give me the grade that I had calculated, because I kept everything and demonstrated that I deserved a 75 passing grade for the class. She was no longer teaching after that term. Our next Reddit post is from VSauceGuy. I had purchased my first home in a slightly lower class area of town, which is pretty close to an even lower class area of town. Think slightly ghetto, a mile from absolute trailer trash. I know most of my immediate neighbors since most of them are pretty loud and I'd rather be friendly with them than have them be my enemy. Some local kid likes to go around collecting trash in his free time. A real nice kid does it for really no reason. Whenever I see him, I usually get him a drink, lemonade or soda so he can stay hydrated. California is hot. Sometimes I give him a few dollars. I offer the kid $30 a month to mow my lawn twice a month. So kid has a gig for a small but consistent income. The kid takes a lot of pride in his work. He mows the lawn, pulls weed, moves rocks out of the driveway, and just makes my place look extra nice. Even though I don't even ask him to do any extra work. This guy is great. This goes on for a few years. Kid is now a senior in high school. Family is not doing so great. Dad just lost his main source of income, and mom had accumulated debt which put a lot of stress on their failing marriage. Mom was abusive verbally and sometimes physically to both the kid and the father. But the kid keeps on walking, doing work, volunteering, and being a real happy, upbeat dude. Despite his troubles at home, the kid starts buying lawn decorations. Mostly small little gnomes, some decorative rocks, and a bird bath, and he decorates my yard. It looks amazing, but I knew he must have spent a lot of his own money on that. I try to reimburse him and he denies. He won't take it. I know he needs a car, and I was about to get a newer one for myself, so I gave him mine for free. It really was the least I could do for this guy for everything he's done for me. A few weeks later, a drunk driver T-bones the kid, and he dies on the scene. I was devastated, his parents were devastated, and they soon after got a divorce. They were fighting over who gets what, and the father discovers that the mother had a drug addiction she had been hiding, straight out of left field. She wants everything they had, and she lawyers up to fight the battle. Due to the debt the mother had accumulated on the father's bank account, he had really no money, and nobody knew where she got her money from. As sad as it is, it's not my affair. Until she sent me a letter claiming that the yard decorations are rightfully hers and that she will take them or else. Now this is a problem. I get it, you lost your only child, you're in a lot of pain as a parent, but you were never a good parent to him. I was closer to him than you, by a long shot. So I had a meeting with the father and told him not to worry about the court costs. I decided I was going to fund him in court. Long story short about their divorce battle, but he wins and gets to keep everything, and even gets a restraining order on her. He then files for credit card fraud and puts all the debt on her. I heard from the father that she was recently arrested for driving while drunk and was searched and had a decent stash of meth on her. She is currently awaiting trial for that, while the father is living a life now relatively stress-free. And I got to keep my lawn decorations. Rip, Jonathan, you are missed. How disgusting do you have to be to drive drunk after losing a child to drunk driving? I'm glad she's going to jail. The world is better off without people like this. Our next Reddit post is from Mansker. Many years ago, early 1980s, I worked for a company that did what I called mall molesting. They did market research surveys in a mall and were always stopping people to ask questions, etc. The company was run by 3 older women who had started it in their kitchen. They were opinionated and had no care about anything but money. Part of this included paying employees not by the hour, but by the survey, which was against labor rules as it never matched the basic hourly wage. This is important. Christmas came, and we were planning our employee party when one of the owners called us and told us that in order to avoid paying bonuses, we were to fire everyone at the party and then hire back the ones that we liked after the new year. We, the other managers and I, talked about it, and then I called the Federal Bureau of Labor, who had been trying to get the information for the employee pay for several years but had always been turned away. I had them come to the back door and let them into the file room and showed them the boxes. I then said I had things to do in the front and would be back later, and went to the front desk to finish paperwork I needed. Said paperwork, a blow up of Santa going down the chimney with Merry effing Christmas typed across it. All of the management resignations and the FedEx envelope that would hold our keys and said paperwork. Labor guy finished what he needed to do. We locked up, sent the package, which was timed to arrive at their Christmas party, and walked away. The company ended up spending about $250,000 in reimbursements and fines for the labor problem. Sounds like the US Labor Department is making a list and checking it twice to see which employer has been naughty or nice. Our next Reddit post is from AtelierVieuxPont. This story starts off with a slightly less humorous fact. A few days ago, I was on the unfortunate end of credit card fraud. The fraudsters decided to take my credit card info and purchase $1,000 worth of car parts from Philly and have it sent across the border to the city I currently live in, Vancouver, Canada. Normally, this is where the story ends. Sometimes they get away with it, sometimes they don't, but either way, my card is replaced and I continue on living my life. This, however, is where the fun starts happening. I got a call this morning about a DHL shipment entering the country that required customs to be paid. Knowing I haven't shipped anything with DHL in forever, They're the worst. I quickly come to the realization that it must be the fraudsters shipping their goods here. It can't be, I thought. Who in their right mind would use a stolen credit card to order something to their own house in the city the owner of the card lives? After a brief chat with DHL about the custom fees I will not be paying, I managed to obtain the address the package was being sent to. I hummed and hawed about it, but eventually decided the best thing to do was call the local police department and let them know what was up. I told the officer all about the situation, that unfortunately I didn't know what car the parts were for and that I hope this info helps him somehow in the future. He tells me that the chances are slim, but he'll swing by the house. It's literally 15 minutes from my own, just to see if anything weird is going on and follow up with me if he needs to. I thank him and go on with my workday. About an hour later, I get a call from the same officer, obviously excited. Hi OP, it's Officer X. You will never guess what just happened. I was following up on the report and drove by the house. I decided to go knock on the door just to see if anyone was home and ask them a couple questions. A man opened the door, and as we were talking, DHL drove up to deliver the package. Yes, that's right, the exact package we had been discussing. The delivery driver walks up to the door and says, "Hi, is OP there?" To which the man replies, "Oh yeah, he's just downstairs." You can imagine my surprise. The officer said, "That's pretty funny because I just got off the phone with him and I know for a fact he doesn't live here." The guy, no joke, looks the officer dead in the face and goes, "Oh, whatever, the package is paid for." I chuckled and turned to the DHL driver to tell him he should leave because I need to make an arrest. "I'm calling you while I drive back to the precinct. Thought it might brighten your day." I still cannot believe that they caught the guy, but thought it was a story that was too good not to share. Why would the guy look the cop in the eyes and admit that he just paid for the obviously stolen package? What an idiot. That was r/Prorevenge, and this is r/Puppy Bloopers. Mostly small little gnomes, some dog. Mostly small little dog. Dog, Hugo, come on, man. Go someplace else, please. I'm trying to record, dog. Pooch. Arf. You want to cuddle? You want to cuddle? No, you want to play. You want to play. Whoa, 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 whoa. Come here, Pooch. Come here. Roof. Oh, I'm really sorry, but I can't play right now, dog. I can cuddle for a minute. You want to cuddle a little? Come here. No, I can't chase you, dog. Go chew on some toy or something. Pooch. Oh, woof. Arf. Come here. Oh, woof. Arf, 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 arf. Dog. All right. Look, I got a job to do.